Okay, now here we are. We're going to, I can't get that screen quite. Hopefully trying to get this a little bit more steady and stable. Hopefully that is good for you now. Still seems a little bit off whack, but sure, we'll work with what there is. Let me do this that way. I just need to straighten this up. There we are, that should be us now. Much more like it. There we go. Okay. So we've got one watcher, whoever you are. Good to have you. Can't see anything at the minute. My setup is a little cluttered today with different bits and bobs, so let me just get myself organised. Now, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to do this in Derwent Inktense, and this is a very, very different scene tonight. Let's see if we get on the live so I can actually see anybody who is making any comments. Hello, Sherry. Hello from Kentucky. And hello from Kilauea in Northern Ireland, very close to Belfast. Thank you for logging on. Okay, so what we're going to do, once I've got my bits and bobs organised in the area that they should be in, which is pretty good now. So we're doing, this is Mount, I think it's Kilauea, and this is sent to me by a Susan who used to live in, I think it is Hawaiian actually, and she asked me if I would do this one for one of the lives. So this is the erupting volcano. These are colours that I would never use. So I'm going to select all the different colours that I can think that might be beneficial in some shape or form. Mainly it's going to be the blacks, I would think, that are going to shine in this venture. So there's Indian ink. That is ink black, we'll need that one. Charcoal grey, we'll use that too. And also let's get in a little bit of sun yellow. I think that is everything that we're going to likely use for this. I can't see any other colours that would be really that relevant. Aloha, hello Susan. I'm so glad that you came online to see this one, because I know that you'd been asking me. So this is the one that we've selected of that scene to do. So I'm absolutely delighted that you're online, actually, I have to say. Okay, so how are we going to tackle this? I don't really know, because this is one of these scenes that is not my usual. It's not my normal scene to do. I'm not a major fan of nighttime scenes, but I'm doing it because you asked, and I think it's really good to demonstrate, you know, different techniques. So let's give this a go. I am enjoying a Guinness Zero tonight. So here we go. Let's jump in. And what we want to start with, I think, is, now do we want to start? Where do we want to start? I think let's get a rough kind of outline of this mountain shape here. And let's just lean into that first. Okay, so this is with the charcoal grey, which is 2100. Okay, so just trying to see where the line, I'm doing this very lightly because, and I'm also using the continuous line technique, and the reason why I'm doing that as well is because I want this to be nice and fluid, and also because this one is outside of my comfort zones. I'm staying with something that is much kind of more, you know, it makes me feel like it's something that I can be more comfortable with. Okay, so right, we've got the Indian ink now. I really actually think the ink black is what we want to do more of, so let's lean into it this now with the ink black. Oh, hello Jess. Jill coming to see. Yeah, well, let's see how this goes. Not quite sure how this is going to go with this one. Now, let's see. So I'm outlining really where I think that the darkest points will be. Now, obviously it's a mountain, so we're going to keep it pretty kind of rough. And then all of this under here is also, there's so much dark kind of intruding in at different points, but it is actually mixing in with some of this red. So I genuinely am not overly sure how we mix this, how we see this working together. There's going to be lots of fluid, pardon the pun there, lots of fluid movement, hopefully within the water as well. Way to grind down your Inktense, eh? So just really filling in as much as I can here without, I mean, this black is going to go nuts. The black is one of the strongest tones I think I've ever seen. It just is quite incredible, you know. And then we've got this dark happening out here as well. I'm going to move that in there. And, you know, part of the thing that I think that you have to do whenever, particularly it's a scene that wouldn't be your normal, is lean into it. Let's not get precious about this. So just following and trying to track. Look, hello Francis, how are you? Nearby Cavan indeed. Well, by Irish terms, not nearby, but the rest of the world, they're like, you're pretty much next door. I remember we were out in Phoenix and the lady we were staying with was leaving off her children who were young at the time to stay with their grandmother, and she was 4 hours away, and they were like, yeah, no, that's nothing. And in our part of the world we were like, 4 hours? 4 hours is forever. So please do comment, always appreciated. Just gonna actually trying to, now let's see, I don't know what I'm trying to do. Anyway, right, Susan, you've given me a challenge with this one. Now, so we've got burnt orange, actually burnt orange. Praise the Lord that I had actually bought burnt orange. So I want to doing kind of a experimental scribbling. See how we can get, now a lot of this is going to be how we capture it. I want to make those harder lines. Oh, as he crumbles the Inktense. They're actually, I mean, they are quite soft things really to work with. So let's see. Okay, so and then let's take some of the more orangey orange rather than the burnt orange. Just getting some little marks of this now. It almost could this be deceptively quick actually? Just getting some of that in there too. The interesting bit is going to be in actually the adding the water, isn't it? Because at the minute there's not actually a whole heap. I wish that I had started this further down the page, but at the same point we work with what we've got, you know. I never overthink where I'm starting on the page. I never overplan. The minute that I overplan, then what happens is that I start to lose the fluidity of the thing, and I don't want to lose the fluidity and lightness and spontaneity that I like in the work that I do, you know. So that would be why I really don't plan. I like to just jump in. It's something that really I value highly, you know. Okay, so where's your crack tonight, people? As in, that is word for banter, not for illegal drugs. What's happening? What are you doing tonight? Do chat with me. Settle my concerns of stuffing this one up. Okay, so let's see this here, and actually, ooh, yes. Good call, Colin. The mixing up of the take a little bit of those lighter points. The mixing up, sorry, of the yellow and the over the orange. Another slurp of the beautiful Guinness Zero. Have any of you tried the beautiful Guinness Zero? It is actually a joy to behold. Now this is the red, this is the poppy red 0400. Let's just do a little bit of that over here as well, over that point. Okay, so I'm going to see how this reacts. I might actually do a couple of these to really try and play about how this works. So let's see. So we're using the Aquafine. I've got I love this little size, this little pot I've bought. It's wonderful. Okay, so let's see where this goes. So we're gonna agitate the black first. Now the wonderful thing about that is look how rich that is already. I mean, it is just like so rich and dark. And the more water that I put on, the more, see, that's gonna release the pigment of this thing. It's just, I really want to try and get I think the outline of this is going to be important, you know. And also, look at that. Just squeeze the ink back in. That'll give you again that sort of sense of the movement of the thing. I think I'm going to do a couple of these tonight because I just think that it's a wee bit mad. It's going to take me to grips. And also, for anybody watching, hopefully what you're going to find is that sense of learning in this, you know. I did a scene like this before, and the reason why I'm not a massive fan of it is because it didn't really go very well. I didn't think it was terribly effective. So I'm interested to see how you might do this. It's something a bit more fluid than what we're getting here. This feels really quite restricted and tight in some ways, so we will do this one, I think, and then let's try this again as well. Okay, now let's see what happens when I'm going to go for a different water pot there for that. Okay, so if I begin to mix these together and let these play about, what's going to happen? Let's see. I have no idea how these are going to act together, so we're actually activating everything that's there, okay, to see how these play about together. Now you can see here that some of the black is going to begin to kind of mix together. It's quite interesting how they seem to be responding in this part together. Now, what's that going to do? Is that going to add to it, or is that going to detract from it? I think the main issue that I have with the scene is because it's obviously at night time, and I don't really paint a lot at night. So there's, like, that's what's happening there, because that is the darker. So actually, what I might try and do is go less literal with this and more kind of expressive, and see how this goes from that way. That might be better, actually. That might be much better. Now you're getting that black really billowing into the colour. It more looks like a campfire actually than what it is that I'm looking for. Now if I go in and I encourage, now I could do this, encourage some of the darker into the lighter. And how far will that go if I lift some from here? Really losing. Feels like you're losing the glow of the thing. I wonder, it probably would be easier tackled not in the Inktense, but still a good challenge to try and do it. Okay, so I would rate that as pretty much not successful. What I want to do is let's do another one, and let's go for something that's a bit more, I think, what's the word? A bit more experimental. And see what happens when we do that. So we're going to try and save these here. I really enjoy the experimental aspect of this, and I think that what has happened to me is that I've realized that it's really, really important that you feel free enough to feel. And the only real failure then is actually when you give up. So that's why I'm thinking to do another one, because I think that for me is too much of a hodgepodge of different colours. So let's move this one over. Move it over and move away. Now let's get another sheet of paper. Now, what I could do with this one instead is, instead of doing the black this time, going with much more of the reds. Now, the other thing that I want to do is move it further down the page. That's one of the key bits of this for me. Okay, so we're just, there we go, there's our paper, there's a bit of paper repurposed. Okay, so let's leave behind those darker tones. Sorry for hearing the gulping sound. Jill, do you like the glow? Well, not so fast. So let's see. So where that is going absolutely nuts. Look how that is totally enveloping the darker tones. Now what we can do with that is take the brush as the hoover. You've seen me do that before, so you squeeze off the excess. And then what we do is begin to lift that, so that actually has, well, no, it is actually removing all of the pigment. So I think that that's certainly one of the lessons in this, is you need the fiery colors done first, so that they're not going to be totally overwhelmed by the those darker tones. So just continuing to lift that off. So you know, it really better and more realistic than you imagine. It's mystical how it feels in person. I'd imagine it's quite an experience being at something like that. But we're going to try this again. I'm going to try it more loosely. Just want to lift off a little bit of that excess. Now, the other thing that I've been really playing a lot about with is this notion where we let the colours really bleed. And I think that that could be something really, really interesting. Okay, so I'll take 2. So let's go in this time. So we're going to start off much lower. Okay. I need to get this, yes, that even the fluid movement of that to me is much more like where we want to go with this, you know, trying to get like you said, the magical nature of this thing. I mean, I'd imagine being beside a volcano is just something other, just a totally other experience. The majesty. So notice the learning actually. I'm going for much more scribbly and scrapey lines to get this thing rolling and moving. Okay, and let's see. This is now the tangerine orange. I think I've used that one. Let's go for the burnt orange, just for some of those darker points there. Okay, and then so that we'll have that kind of line coming in there, and then also some of the oranges. Interrupt state. What did you say there? Oh, sorry, the paper I'm using, Francis, is the See What I've Brightened, my beloved 350 GSM. I got some cold pressed and gave it a go, and I just didn't really love it, I have to say. Or hot pressed, sorry, and gave it a go, and didn't love it at all. Whereas the cold pressed is just, it just really works for me. So the 350 GSM is probably the best bit of it, because it just sorry, I'm getting lost in this. It really doesn't buckle on me, you know, so I just really appreciate that. Okay, so we've got the line work done there. Okay, so what I might do is actually, if we wait, I wonder, should I just take those, let's just take those lines there. The other thing that I might do, which could be really effective, is just do this. Notice, please, that I am changing so much of what I am doing in this one versus the other one. You know, it's just a different experience. I'm wanting something that is much more alive, and it's got more of that movement in it. Okay, so let's take the magical heat brush this time. And there's a little bit of the dark tone, but that's okay, we can deal with that. This is more like it. I'm feeling this much more than I was the other one. Squeeze that off. Okay, another thing then is to begin to move things so that they begin to give that kind of sense of the wonder of this thing. Okay, so I think that's enough with the hake. But I want you to splatter. You're not splattering very much for me, but that's okay. Sometimes I find that actually what you have to do is do something once and effectively be unhappy with it to figure out how you want to do it to be happy with it. Does that make sense? And I can see now, the more that I've done this, that with so many things, it's the experimenting that is so darn important, because if you don't try, then you're just not going to ever learn or have the courage to actually do something that is more of what you're happy with. So what my plan is for this is simply this. This is quite nice. This one is much more enjoyable. And it also means that I have the grace of a little bit of a barrier. And hopefully it's not going to give the effect of the darkness of the thing, but it's going to allude to that being there, you know. Does that make sense? So rather than feeling that, you know, that's the dominant thing and it's completely lost, hopefully what will happen is it just gives you a bit of a tracker of the line of the thing. You said it's like day and night between the two, and you really turned it around and brought it to life in the second one. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a much more, you know, it's really quite illustrated, isn't it? It's a much different approach to it, and much more childlike approach to it as well, you know. And the fire, look at the fire is actually bursting into the scene rather than the other way around, you know. It's interesting with the light done first makes so much of a difference to it and where that's actually going to go. Now if I drop in more, just drop in more water and let that go a little bit nuts and down. Hopefully that's going to add a little bit more. Now the other thing that I can then do is go in again with this, enjoy myself and make it kind of move a little bit more. Grief was splattered everywhere. Cause that lava to feel like it's flowing through that bit more. And actually, where's the black? Okay, so if I we want to extend this, right, maybe a little bit more now. We've got the actual structure that wee bit more, and we can add that a little bit more definition as well, you know. There's actually loads of swirliness happening and all of this as it narrows down to this point in the corner. Well, thank you, Susan, because this has forced me to do something very different tonight, way beyond my normal comfort zones, which is just a wonderful experience, I have to say. And also it can bring a bit more of this, the eruption. Didn't really get that sense of the billowing there at that point, but I am glad, you know, even the flow of the water up feels like it's taken it somewhere, you know, which is interesting. Take a little bit of this orange as well. You're very kind, Jill. Sorry, I'm only seeing that comment now. And feel all the heat all the way down here. Okay. And there, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have it. Mount Kilauea. So we'll have to do the so what we need first is stick a column in there somewhere. And we of course need the stampers. Of course we do. Now I wonder, let me see, just thinking, it's interesting whenever you draw with the Inktense, when they're wet, you don't actually get much movement of the pigment. It seems to almost like it's completely done its movement. But yet whenever you have just laid it down as like an pencil work and haven't activated any of it, then it seems to give you loads. But interestingly, it doesn't really do that much once you've actually laid it down wet, if that makes sense. Okay, so there we go. Now let's get Kilauea. I have to spell this right as well. Kilauea. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I like it because it's very different to what I would normally do as well. And sometimes it takes a bit of, give yourself a bit of permission to like something that's different, doesn't it? K-I-L. Well, Susan O, do you approve? Because it was your suggestion after all. K-I-L. So A-U. A, and then U. Sometimes it takes me a while to find. A-U. And then E-A. Okay, so that is it. Now, you need to give me some feedback. You're all pretty quiet tonight, apart from a few of you. And this is the, okay, so that was the first one. No, it doesn't really have much here, doesn't. Now, I wonder actually if I was to play about. And then the second one, you certainly get the sense of eruption a wee bit more with this one. Now, I'm going to move this one out of the way because I want to see, we're now in the land of experimenting here. So what happens if I take the colors? What did you say, Ernie? I agree. So if I take, let's pull the thing back here. So if I take the yellow and I try, nah, look at that. Nothing's happening. It's not really going to let me do very much at all. Now, I would imagine the reds, the reds will, no, look at that. Actually, doesn't really do very much to it at all. Actually, it'd be better leaving it as is. Yeah, it's not fascinating. So really, really interesting to me that the first one, you know, in trying to capture the sense of the darkness of the thing, actually you lose the sense of the light. And the important thing in this one, which I am really pleased about, is that the eruption is the focus, and it's got the life of movement of the pencil, and it's gone much simpler than look at that little hair sitting there on it. It's gone much simpler than trying to, you know, get everything more accurate. And with the first one, I was trying to get the accurate outline of the mountain because I thought, you know, you want to do that, but actually I think it's captured much more in this one. Okay, I'm glad you feel so honoured, Susan. No, that was a real challenge, and I'm really grateful for it. So thank you for sending that in. And I'm sorry it took me a while to get there, but we got there. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Really good, and I would suggest that to you. You know, if you're doing something and it's not going that well, learn from it and try it again. And actually, in many ways, keep going until you get it, because it's such a waste to just have some area that you think, oh no, this is terrible, I shouldn't go near it. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode of Woodward's Watercolors, and don't forget to like it and subscribe and comment and all that jazz, and appreciate all you do. Thanks so much. Bye.